Now we need to use our newly created addresses and associate them to our order. So what we're going to do is we'll jump into our orders and we want to actually import addresses. So from addresses.models import address. Scroll down and we already have the billing profile. So shipping address and billing address. Of course, these are foreign keys, much like the billing profile. And it's just address. Okay, so we save that. Let's tab these in a little bit so nice and lined up. You don't have to do this, of course, but it just looks better. Okay, and I saved that. Now I'm going to go ahead and run Python manage.py, make migrations like I would, and then I get something like this. Well, this means that when you associate data, so when we use a foreign key, we have these associations, right? So it's building this relationship. And what it's saying for the database is it's saying, hey, there's two orders with or an order with two fields with the same foreign key relationship. These are the same. This confuses Django and the database. It causes some issues that may occur when we use a lot of our relationship data. This will make a lot more sense when we learn more about foreign keys, but until we do that, we just need to know that we have to add in something called a related name. And this is really just an alternate name for this field that Django can use to associate this data. So this related name, in this case, I'll just call it shipping address. And the one below the one below here, we'll call billing address. Now, this has nothing to do with the field name per se. It has more to do with how the relationship between these models works. And they just have to be unique. That's all. So they can't both be address. Much like if you had multiple carts on this, they also all couldn't be cart. And I still want to make them null and blank because we definitely want to work with that. So now that we've got that, let's go ahead and run our migrations. And then we'll run migrate. So Python manage.py, make migrations. And then finally, Python manage.py, migrate. Okay, cool. So now I've got these addresses in here. I can do a few different things. The first thing is when I go into my cart view here, I could actually get those addresses. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to say the request session. So we want to get the billing address. So billing address ID equals to request.session.get and billing address ID or none. Shipping address. So shipping address is going to be the same thing. And request.session.get shipping address ID, none. So down here, we're going to do the association down here, and we'll just say if shipping address ID, then we'll do order object dot shipping address equals to, well, let's actually try it doing it with the shipping address, the ID itself, the shipping address ID. And then we will do order, we'll also do elif. Actually, we'll just say if shipping address or billing address ID, then same sort of thing, but instead of shipping, we change it to billing. And then we'll do if billing address ID or shipping address ID, then we'll do order object.save. So basically saying if it's one of these, just make sure you save it. And then after I set it here, I'm actually going to delete the session for it. So it's just not there because it doesn't need to be. So we'll do delete and that actual shipping address ID like that. Do the same thing for the billing address ID. So this is potentially a little bit dangerous. Like if it doesn't save correctly, yeah, it's a little bit dangerous. So what I'm going to do is make sure that it saves and works. So we'll do from addresses dot models import address. There we go. Let's actually reorganize that like that. And instead of just guessing if the shipping address ID will work, we'll do objects.get ID equals to shipping address ID. And the same thing for the billing one. I could also make sure that it's the same billing profile. So there are other checks that I could do here. I'm just not going to do it just yet. So since I've got this, I want to make sure that I also put these items in the session itself. So let's go ahead and copy this and go back into our addresses view. And the address type is going to be how we do our request. So down here is really how it's going to be done. And it's really just request.session and then whatever string that we have here. So the address type string, and then we'll set that equal to instance.id. So the address type string will be this. So let's go ahead and say address type equals to that. We've already understood that one. The address type string would really just be right, so we've got shipping or billing, right? It's going to be shipping or billing. So this would be address type plus address ID plus underscore address ID to give us that actual session item, which is going to give us one of these two things. And of course, we could print that out to make sure that it is. Just print these two things out, just like that. Okay. So we save this. Let's go ahead and save our cart. There we go. And now we are going to be updating our billing address or our billing based off of these various addresses. Okay, so we save it. Let's go into it. Check out shipping address. Okay, 123 Main Street. Just going to use that. Hit submit. Billing address. That's a good sign. 123 Main Street again. Hit submit. Woo, finalize checkout. What's up? That's awesome. Okay, so if I log out and try it again with products, view, add cart, checkout, abc at Gmail, hit submit, shipping address, submit, billing address, submit, finalize checkout, and there we go. We go back into our actual admin, take a look at orders, recent order. We've got our two shipping addresses there. And the one before that, also the two shipping addresses as well. Pretty cool. So that means that, of course, we can render out our shipping addresses on this checkout page as well. But we'll actually do the finalized checkout in just a moment. So one thing I will say is what you might end up doing. Let's just go ahead and go through the checkout process again. So add a cart, checkout, and 1, 2, 3. This is where you might actually end up putting your billing address and your credit card, depending on if you have those things. Right? So you might actually put it in this portion. So it'd be billing. And then we hit submit, and then we go to this checkout, finalize checkout total. Now, there's a couple things that also to think about with these addresses. One of them being, if you're a logged in user, it is remembering these addresses, but how come when I go to add the cart and check out, I actually have to add in my address? Why can't I actually select an address? Well, you could do that, but that's going to add in just another like variable that makes it a little bit more challenging to actually design this. But that's not something we're going to shy away from. We actually will do it in just a moment. So what I want to finish first, though, is the checkout portion of this. So let's go do that and that. I want to finish this off so we can like finalize that order and then do that final improvement for the various order types that we may or may not have. Now, I will say one caveat to that is that actual checkout process or the address process will only work, or we are going to only allow it to work for logged in users, and that is it. Cool. So stay with us.